you. Can you hear? Can you see?
Yes, but you're on with 31 others. Yes, I can see Tanaz. I said you are on with 31 other.
What do you want? Where's the switch? I want to ask her. Is this better?
Hi, good evening. If I could just get a thumbs up from my three ladies that we're ready to go, I will start the session. Great, Tanaz. Niloufer, I know you're on. Anahita, yes, great.
Say something. Can you hear, Tanaz?
Hi. Hi, Zarine.
Hi, yeah, hi. So, good evening, friends. We're on the third session of the Entrepreneur Development Program for Foodpreneurs. And today's program is particularly interesting, being our first cooking demo show. Since it's going to be a much longer session than usual, I'm not going to take up any more time, and I'll dive right into the introductions of the three ladies who've graciously agreed to join us and share their little kitchen secrets with us. When it comes to the love of cooking, most of us have one person that we credit for our source of inspiration. And Tanaz Bahadurji, and I'm sorry, I have been spotlighted and that threw me off balance. When it comes to the love of cooking, most of us have one person that we credit for our source of inspiration. And for Tanaz Bahadurji, that was her mother. Many Mumbaiites will recall Mrs. Boywala's fabulous chocolate cake. All the wonderful praises that Tanaz heard about her mother's magic in those cakes is what Tanaz took with her when she moved to her own home and family. For Tanaz, being in the kitchen is about creating and not cooking. She enjoys the sheer pleasure of wowing her loved ones with meals that would not be out of place in a restaurant. Personally, I'd like to add that she not only wows her family, but even us friends. We never leave Tanaz's parties without an overindulgence of wonderfully flavored, perfectly finished meals. In Tanaz's own words, to cook for someone is to put out a little gift of love, visible love. And today, Tanaz will take us through the art and science of the perfect quiche. Born and raised in Karachi with stays in London and Dubai and finally settling in Toronto, Niloufer Mavalvala has traveled extensively. Could we spotlight her? Thanks, Yazdi. Passionate about culture through its cuisine, she enjoys all cuisines of the world. Self-taught, her experience through the years has driven her to write a blog, nilouferskitchen.com, and publish 2 Parsi cookbooks, receiving 3 awards. She strongly believes that while we are identified by race, religion, and color, we share the tightest bonding through food. Making use of the lockdown time through this pandemic, Niloufer started cooking classes via Zoom, and reviving ancient cuisine one recipe at a time receives a wide audience worldwide. Parsis love their prawns and their potatoes, so Niloufer decided to demonstrate a dish to encompass both, and so we get Jhinga Papeta from her kitchen. Chef Anahita Dhondy comes from a family of Parsis settled in Delhi. Her world has revolved around food since childhood, and here's another cook that takes inspiration from her mother's Parsi catering and cake baking. Knowing very early on that she wanted to don that chef's hat, Anahita pursued her culinary dream by enrolling into IHM Aurangabad, which she passed with honors in culinary arts. She trained at many star hotels and went on to complete the Grand Diplôme from Le Cordon Bleu in London. She's an expert at French pastries and cuisine, and she later joined the restaurant's soda bottle openerwala when she was all of 23, and built the brand to 9 restaurants throughout the country. Anahita has also worked in an all-woman cooking show aired on Living Foods called Femme Foodies and completed a Parsi cookbook which should soon be seen on the shelves. She's been a part of the Chef's Manifesto and the Eat Foundation team and strongly advocates local sustainable cuisine. She's a big supporter of using leftovers, sharing recipes on her Instagram page where she talks about biodiversity, local seasonal produce, and repurposing leftovers. For her, food has to be delicious and nutritious. Anahita's experience with sustainable cuisine is well known, and so I've requested her to give us a surprise item from whatever's in her larder. She will also briefly touch on a few points on menu planning. Thanks to technology, we are indeed global today. We have Tanaz from Mumbai, Niloufer all the way from Toronto, and Anahita from Delhi. All our guest speakers will be happy to take questions, but these need to be typed in the chat window, and I will take them up with the chef in question at the appropriate time. So if Tanaz is ready, we can kick off the session with Quiche Lorraine. Tanaz, give me a thumbs up when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Great. Okay. Yes, thank you. Yazdi, you can get me off the screen. Yeah.
And you switch cameras. Should I start?
Should we start?
Yes, yes, you're good to go.
Okay. So here I have with me my very good friend and sous chef Yasmin, who is going to help me. And I want to start by saying that we're going to make a quiche, which is a really indulgent and well, if you want to make a diet version, if you want to use milk instead of cream, this is not the recipe for you. So it's a really luscious and it's full of cheese, and the more cheese you put in, the better it's going to be. So let's get started. Now, I want to say that for the quiche, most important thing is the pastry. And to make the pastry flaky and tender, you need to do some things which I will share with you. I will share with you this recipe, which is an absolute gem. If you follow it to its proper measurements, you will never need another pie recipe.
Yeah.
Again, I've used this recipe for 20 years and it never fails me. I hope it doesn't fail me today.
So would you say this pie recipe can be used even for different pies?
Yes.
Not only just
Not every pie, and if you want to make a sweet pie, then all you do is add some sugar. All right, now of course your digital scale, which is really vital. You have the recipe with you, I believe. So I'm going to start by putting in 6 ounces of flour. Now, when I say 6 ounces of flour, I mean 6 ounces and not a little bit more or not a little bit less of sifted flour. So what you need to do is sift it first and then measure it, because it has to be exactly 6 ounces.
So would you say you would remeasure it after?
Yes, I'm going to remeasure it just to make sure that it is 6. 6.1, so I'm going to just take a little bit off. Now, the second most important ingredient is very cold butter. It has to be in the fridge. Yasmin, could you fetch it for me, please? Now, you want to start getting everything ready and put in your butter at the very last so that it is still cold. When I first started making quiche, I used to actually freeze it because I was so nervous at the time. But it's enough to have really cold butter from the fridge. Now that is 4 ounces, but not a big blob of 4 ounces. You want to put it into little and work very quickly so that your butter is not
So
melting
roughly into cubes.
into cubes, roughly into cubes. And that's 3.7. Again, you have to work very quickly, so I am moving as fast as I can. That is exactly 4 ounces of cold butter. All right, we will need, now I'm going to do it in my mixer. Of course, you can do it by hand. We'll talk about that later so that I don't lose time with the cold butter. A pinch of salt, and you're ready to go. I'm going to take this over to my mixer. In the meantime, Yasu, can you get me a cold egg?
Sure.
Right. So if you have one of these and you start it on, would you break it in a bowl and whip it with a fork? What you're going for is fine breadcrumbs. Well, would you like to bring the camera over here? I see this is like fine breadcrumbs. Again, don't over mix it. You're ready to go with 1 cold egg. Beaten. Start your mixer again. And put it in very soon. You see, you have a perfect dough. It's absolutely ready. Do not over mix it. It has to be just mixed very gently. Not like you do when you're making chapatis, you beat it to death. No, this is it.
Tanaz, I have a question.
Sure.
Is it possible to make this dough by hand if you don't have any kind of
Yes.
appliance?
So anybody who's used to making like chapati or something, you first just mix the cold butter into the flour until it resembles breadcrumbs, and then do exactly what I did, but by hand. All right, ready? Okay, so now the most important step is yet to come. Every time you've done your pastry, you need to rest it so that the glutens relax. And it's very difficult to work with pastry like this. So you put it in a bowl,
Right.
cover it with
Cling.
foil, which I did before you guys came. So here I have the same dough, which I made a half hour earlier, because that dough will sit in the fridge for 30 minutes. So clear up here. All right.
Sorry, is it okay to interrupt you at this stage quickly?
Yes.
Hoshang wants to know the brand of the processor you're using.
Oh,
It's one of my favorites also.
it's a Kenwood, and I will share the number with you later. But it's absolutely brilliant.
So Kenwood, and Maruk's asking, could you use a mixie? I'm presuming what she means is the kind of mixie we use for masalas.
Like
But
this?
it's a food processor.
Like this?
Yeah, I presume. No. Okay. So you need a food processor or by hand.
Exactly. You need something.
Thank
blended.
you. Thank you.
All right, now everybody has that favorite way of rolling pastry, but I find this method quite helpful. There are two pie dishes here. You can use a porcelain one, or you can use, one of these. But it's important to remember that it should be deep as opposed to not deep. You see, this should be a nice deep.
So it should be deeper to hold the
filling.
Yes.
All right. So again, put your dough and make it into a circle.
So you haven't floured the surface, huh, Tanaz?
No, I haven't floured the surface. Make sure that it is bigger than your dish, right? And then put another sheet of, you cut it for me. Roll it nice and even.
So you're first flattening with your hands and
Just
then
to
you're
make it
rolling.
large.
Okay.
Just to make it easier.
Do you find that easier rather than rolling from the beginning?
I do. Just make it into a nice large circle and then. Okay, I think that's just about right.
Just smoothens it out.
And then goes away. Lift it up. And since it's been in the fridge for 30 minutes, it's nice and cool and very, very workable. Now you slip it into your pie dish, lift the edges so that it sits in and doesn't stretch. Right? And there you have it. And there you go.
Oh, wait.
Okay, now, next very important step. Remember the first one I said was after you make the pastry, it has to rest for 30 minutes. This, again, has to be chilled in the fridge. Has been just put in the and the other one that I've already done.
This is really cold.
It's cold and chilled, and because it won't, the pastry will not shrink in your oven. And now we're going to work on the filling.
How long did you say it needs to be chilled?
30 minutes.
Okay.
30 minutes. 20 also will do, but just right now I'm going to put on the oven. And as you see, I'm using the small one rather than my big fancy one because it just heats up so quickly and everything is. Eggs. 2 eggs, please, Yasmin, and 4 eggs actually. 4 eggs. Cold, well, it doesn't have to be cold, except that cold eggs are always easier to separate.
Bring it over.
I got 4. Right. So 2 full eggs. And 2 yolks.
You find this easier rather than all those contraptions that there
I have
to
tried
separate.
every egg separator there is. I really have, and this is just probably
So much easier.
isn't it?
Yeah.
The white of the egg I normally send down to my neighbors so that they can make their egg white omelet next day. All right. Then 2 packets of full cream Amul milk. Yes, please.
Should I pour them?
Yes, please. One pinch of salt. 1 pinch of pepper. And whisk it together for me.
You have to whisk.
While that is being done, I want to talk to you about the cheese. I always use Britannia cheese block. It's just amazing. Melts really nicely. And I don't know, I think your recipe that we shared may have said 1 cup, but frankly, I use almost half this block. This is 500 grams. We grated it for you. And I'm going to use 200 grams. 200, spread out all over. This is a full block, and I'm going to use half of it. The more cheese you use, of course, the better it's going to be.
So many recipes call for like Gruyere and this and that, and very fancy cheeses.
Of course, I'm sure
But-
that's great
Yeah,
as
but
well.
you find that this works just as well.
It does. I'm sure Gruyere would be. I would like to mix it though. I think a full Gruyere quiche might be a little
Too much.
too much. All right.
So viewers,
Yeah.
whenever we're invited to Tanaz's for quiche, we don't eat the whole day. This is the reason why.
Thank you, Zarine. Okay, now I use back bacon, and of course you can use vegetarian. You can do a vegetarian one. My most favorite is spring onions, which I have sautéed just a little and charred just a little bit.
So you use the white and the green.
Yes,
parts.
white and the green. Well, shall we use both today?
Why not mix?
Yeah. So we're going to use both. And now, bacon. Now you notice there's fat there, right? I know most of you will be tempted to cut it off, but
But Tanaz, is this raw or you have
No.
cooked it?
I cooked it just a little bit. I don't want to make it too crisp because it's going to cook in. I'll cut some of it off. What do you say? It's going to cook again. So I have cooked it. It's not raw.
Okay, so you've just lightly
Done it. Put it in a pan without any oil. And now it's up to you how much bacon you like, but more the merrier, right?
I guess if you fully cook it, it becomes very hard.
Very hard. Yeah, and then it becomes thick, crunchy.
Yeah.
Okay, almost there. Now, filling, sorry. If you've got a regular quiche dish, this is the exact amount that you're going to need.
So would this be about a 9-inch pie?
Yeah,
dish?
it's 9 inch. All right. Now, the last thing I like to do is put a little cheese on top. So I'll show you what I actually made. If you notice, the little brown bits on top, right? So if you scatter a little cheese on top, that part of the quiche will
Brown.
and the rest will stay white. There you go.
Want me to take it to the oven?
Yes, please. I'm going to put it in the oven for 40 minutes at 180 centigrade. And of course, after it's come out, you need to let it rest for about 10 minutes before putting it on the table with a nice salad. Or if you have made it in this, you want to serve it, you may need to put it in the fridge for about half an hour so that, okay, I'll show you. So because I want to do that, you may want to let this quiche cool a little bit. And then you put it straight in your oven tray so that you can warm it before eating.
So it should be a little warm before. So
You must, yes, it has to be warm, not hot. You don't really need it that hot. It's just a warm quiche. And we're done. Ready to eat?
So was this a bacon quiche?
This was
Just bacon.
yes.
Yum, yum.
And we're done, Zarine.
All right, so there are two questions.
Sure.
One says, Yasmin Medora wants to know, why whole eggs and then some yolks? Is there a reason, or does it do something special to the quiche? Why not use just 4 whole eggs?
4 whole eggs will make it a little runny. The yolk
Runny.
is to
To
make
set it.
to make it not that runny. Exactly.
Okay. And Shiraz wants to know, is it necessary to blind bake the pastry first, as some recipes call for it?
No, no, absolutely not. Not for the quiche. You don't need to, because if you do, you're going to have one thing that's overdone, and the paste. That's not necessary at all. Look, it's just.
It's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you slice it, Tanaz? To see how-
Yes.
Certainly.
Tanaz, you do know that that aroma of that baking quiche has reached my room where I'm sitting.
God. Okay.
And don't forget my slice for dinner, because the wine is already in the chiller.
I will not forget it.
and you have not let me forget it either.
Okay, lovely.
So
This is what I
perfectly set.
love about. All right, you've got an accolade. It says superbly explained. Many thanks, Tanaz.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I
Any more
have a question for
questions?
Tanaz.
Yes.
Please type the
when can
question. Excuse me, can you just type it into the chat window, please? Okay, Dinah says she missed the quantity of butter. Dinah, I can send you the recipe, Dinah, but Tanaz, go ahead.
4 ounces, 6 and 4. 4 flour, 6 butter. 1 egg.
And Dinah, just message me tomorrow for
6
the
flour,
recipe.
4 butter. Sorry, I rephrased. 6 flour, 4 butter. More flour, less butter.
And yes, Maruk, you will get a recording of today's session. Okay, so definitely, Tanaz, lots of people, okay. Somebody said, wow, aromas reaching through Yazdi's Zoom technology. No, actually, Karishma, Tanaz is my neighbor up above. That's how the aromas are reaching me. Okay, if there are no more questions, I will thank Tanaz. Thanks a lot for agreeing
Oh,
to
most
it.
welcome. Good
And
luck.
I'm sure there'll be lots of people trying that quiche.
Good. I hope so.
Yasmin,
If you
thank
have any
you.
problems, I can help out.
You're welcome.
Thanks, sous chef. And I also thank the person who's taking your video, because I know she's very special to me too.
Naheed.
Zed, is this big enough for you?
No. That
no.
you can have.
Okay, we'll send you from the big one.
Thank you. Okay, girls, we'll get, thank you very much. And we'll move on. Niloufer, are you ready to take over? All right. Niloufer, check audio, please. Check your audio.
Okay, can you
Yes,
hear me?
yes. Thank you. Go ahead. Thank you very much.
All right.
So let me just tell them, we have two screens on for Niloufer. One is where you will see her, and she's got another camera above the stove. So you'll be able to see the food that's cooking in that. There, she's waving her hand. That's the second screen. All right, all yours, Niloufer.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Today, we are going to be doing Jhinga Papeta. It's from my second cookbook, The World of Parsi Cooking. It has 51 recipes besides this, and it's available in India from a friend who's helping me distribute it. If anybody's interested, I'll be happy to share. So Jhinga Papeta is something that we all enjoy, and it's easy to put together. There are several ways of doing it. Unlike baking, cooking is something that you can add a little, subtract a little, and still get perfect results. The reason being that everybody's palate is different. If you like it spicy, add a little bit more. If you like it less spicy, just subtract something. All my recipes are very, very balanced. None of them will be very spicy, because I sincerely believe that the star of the show has to be either the Jhinga and Papeta and not the spices. And like that in everything else. Don't overwhelm it with spices. Now, you can marinate it from the beginning, as the recipe says. And if you don't have the time, it's perfectly okay. But I don't like to cook the prawns and the potatoes together, because I don't like to cook prawns for a very long time. I feel that they kind of get rubbery if you overcook it. Yet, I want my potatoes to be really, really cooked, really, really soft. And it's easy to accept that, because when you're eating it, it sort of smashes in the plate, but you don't have to make a mush out of it either. Sometimes you can't control that, because it depends on what type of potato you get in your local area. In Canada, we get 2-3 types. Some are very mushy, some are very firm. I use Yukon Gold. Now, generally speaking, having equal amounts of potato and prawn is a generous way of cooking. Sometimes you can have extra potato and less prawn. So even if you do 3/4 of the potato and 1/4 of the prawn, it will still come out very, very well. I've heated a little bit of oil, and I'm going to start with my potatoes. And if you can dry them out, that's fine. I cut them in the morning, so I had put it in a little bit of water, otherwise they get brown. Try to cut the potatoes as equally as you can, and they should always be balanced with the prawn. So in these sort of dishes, you don't really need jumbo prawns. These are medium prawns. We call them 31-40, meaning per pound you get 31 to 40 pieces. Now, I have cleaned my prawns, but just to show you, I've kept one with the skin on. The shell is on, because you'll see that it looks different at the end of the thing. I'm not saying that you should keep the shells on, because your guests and your family are not going to be very happy if you do, understandably, because people need to remove it. But it's definitely going to add to your flavor. There is no question about that. And a lot of people put just the heads, a few heads in it, just for the flavor. And then that way you get both the flavor and you don't have to peel the prawns. That's up to you. If you want to, if you have fresh, nice prawns, you can do that. We don't really get fresh prawns. These are all from India and they are flash frozen and sent to us. But for me, it's good enough. If there's a smell in the prawn, it's very, very easy to remove that smell. All you do is soak it in salty water for about 20 minutes and then wash it out. You will find that all the smells are removed. Some people find prawns having a fishy smell sometimes. Also, depending on where you live, obviously if it's hot, if you shell the prawns and everything, keep them in the fridge, they can turn off very easily. However, when you're ready to cook, please don't put them straight from the fridge. The shock of the hot oil and the cold prawns turns the prawns into hard finished products, which you don't really want. So this is at room temperature. I removed it half an hour earlier. Now, this is sizzling, but I want the potatoes to catch the color. So I'm going to share with you what I have here on my plate, just to make it easier. It's turmeric, red chili powder, a pinch of sugar. This little ball is a pinch of sugar. I use brown sugar because we don't eat white sugar in our house. Garlic and ginger, and we have cumin and coriander. All of this I have made, not this, I have made at home. You can also, instead of this, use this. The finished product is chili flakes. It looks really, really pretty actually, but that's up to you. You don't have to go and buy any more. It's all the same thing. It just really, really depends on what you are looking for. So I'm just adding the turmeric and giving it a mix. And also, I like to add salt to every aspect. So if I'm making potatoes and prawns separately, I'll add salt to the prawn and I'll add salt to the potatoes. That's the way I like to cook. I like to salt every aspect of the dish. And that way, you don't have to feel, oh, will it be enough? Or have I put too much? So this gives the potato this beautiful golden color. And you want a little bit of caramelization on the potato before you take the next step. Now it's up to you. You can add bits and pieces because I haven't marinated it. You can add bits and pieces of the masala into the potato. So if I had to add something, I would add the ginger because I don't particularly like the ginger going on to the prawns or fish. It sometimes takes away, but the dish needs the ginger. So I would add that ginger. But also when you're frying something, you need to add things at the last minute, especially if you're trying to caramelize the potato, then you don't want to be burning anything. So this way, let it take its time. You have no rush. You don't need to feel, oh my God, the ginger is burning and this is burning and that is burning, right? But in the case of the prawns, you only need a few minutes. So it doesn't matter. You can marinate it. So just for you all, I know I won't have enough time, but let me marinate this for you. You can mix this in a little oil. You can mix it just like that because you have a little bit of water in the prawn always. It's just like that, right? Because pani to chute thodu thodu. So now I'm just going to mix this in, and with my hands, be careful after that to wash your hands properly because it can burn your eyes. Okay, so I'm just going to Zarine said that 2 of the cooks out of the 3 are all inspired by their mom. So actually it's 3 out of 3. My mom was an excellent cook, and she actually baked professionally for 3 years after my father passed away, just because her friends encouraged her to do something because she refused to go out. And she had the most successful business of baking cakes in Karachi for 3 years. And to this day, everybody remembers her for her brilliant baking.
You
She
can
was
make
also
that
for
4
self-taught.
out of 4, Niloufer, because I'm also inspired by my mother, who never
Okay.
did any cooking for as a business, but her food to this day is just unbelievably flavorsome. And I think, and I would think that my son, who's a professional chef, was inspired by his grandmother. So I think it's very much there. I think mothers are a huge influence in the kitchen.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also your palate, it is very dependent on your parents.
Yes.
Because there are many parents who make the mistake of not making something that they are either not fond of or allergic to, and they kind of take that away from the everyday food, and you miss out a lot.
True, true.
So now this is caramelizing nicely. You've got those brown little bits which you need. I haven't put the salt, although we spoke about it. Okay, so that is there. Now, once you know that this is nicely browned and you are happy with it, you still want this to become really soft. And one of the tricks to do that is to pour in a couple of tablespoons of water, allow it to just steam, but before the steam all escapes, quickly cover the lid, turn it on low, and let it cook for about 10 minutes or until it cooks. The idea is that now you fried the potato, it's all sealed, but the inside has to be really soft. So you are making sure that your potatoes are perfect before you add the prawn to it. So I'm going to bring my kettle. Now, another trick that is very, very important, especially in cold countries or cold cities, is that if I put tap water, especially in winter, I will have ice cold water coming out. But if I use the kettle, I will always have tepid warm water in it. It could be hot, it could be tepid. I'm not going to put it on. I'm not going to turn it on to make it warm. It's already warmer than anything that will come out of my tap, and that's good enough. And always, it just helps. Keep your kettle half full whenever you're cooking. Whenever you add some water, if you add it warm, it just continues the process. If you add it cold, the shock just stops the cooking and you've lost like 5-10 minutes to bring it back to speed. So I have my lid all ready. And I'm going to add, and that's it, you know. So now what is happening is with the steam, the potatoes are cooking. I'm going to switch the stoves so you can have a better view of the prawns while the potatoes cook. Oh, that's fine. And I'm going to heat the pan. Again, there's a little bit of oil. You can keep the oil as little as you want. I generally manage to cook with a teaspoon of oil, whatever I cook, for two reasons. One is I always have fried onions ready. So these onions already have oil. So the end product will have enough oil so it doesn't stick or it tastes good or whatever, right? So I have a habit of using as little oil as possible and just that little bit that is necessary. So for instance, if I had mixed this with the oil, I would have put just a drop to make sure that my pan is not dry. But I haven't put oil in this, so I have a little more than I would normally put, say, a teaspoon and a half or something like that. So I'm going to bring this to a high heat. In the meantime, I'm going to talk about chilies. So I like to use my chilies whole, but if you like it a little more spicy, you can crush these chilies and put it in. It shows well, the finished product comes out well. The curry patta. The curry leaves have a beautiful, beautiful aroma, and I'm very lucky today to have fresh ones. Here we get them only in one or two stores, and it's not always easy to have fresh ones. So you wash them and you can just pinch them a little bit and all the aromas come out. It's very, very hard not to burn your curry leaves. So add them in the end if you want, or toast them and remove them if you want. But actually, the bitter ones are not the ones that we cook for too long. The bitter ones are there because, like almonds, there are actually curry leaf trees which are bitter by nature. So sometimes when you get very bitter uh, curry leaves, taste the other ones. They might just be all bitter. It may not be your fault. Okay, so I'm still going to wait. Now, when you're frying the prawns, don't overcrowd, especially if you have a lot of liquid in your prawn mixture. You will find that it's not cooking, it's poaching. You don't want that. You want it to sizzle. So either you take a really big flat pan, which is mostly what I would do, or keep shoving it to the side or removing it as it's done. Now, this is not pan frying it one at a time, but I just feel that you start with half so you can have a control over it. And also in this case, you can put these in if you want it to sizzle and remove it, you know, like I'll do that for you. It just also gives a nice aroma to the oil. If you wanted to use mustard seeds, this is the time to put it in. If you don't, that's fine. I'm just going to remove it. We don't want to burn anything. And this gives it that extra bit of oomph. Try and spread it out as much as possible. Now keep a lemon handy and ready. You like to squeeze lemon on both the products. It's really, really tasty. You can have lemon, lime, whatever you like. I'm a huge fan of lemon and lime in my food. And it absorbs really well when it's warm and just after heat. Keep the stove on high, but keep an eye on it. Allow it to cook on one side and then mix it up. You obviously are not going to turn each prawn, but it will happen. Now we have a little slight bit of liquid coming out, oozing out, and all you keep doing is moving the prawns to become sort of singular on the bottom of the pan. Now, to be fair, this is just half the quantity that is written in the book. It's not the full quantity. So say about 3 minutes, leave it alone, let all the water reduce or evaporate. It's cooking in its own juices. In the meantime, you check on the potatoes. We are at the end of the thing going to mix both of them into each other, so don't worry about it. I'm just going to add this in here so it can start infusing the flavors. And this is a sukka papeta jhinga, right? But a lot of us prefer to eat with rotli. This is served with rotli or with karak pav, crusty bread. And we like a little bit of gravy. So if you want to do that, all you do is add a little bit of fried onion and a little dash of water at the very end. Cook it together on a very, very low simmer for about 5 minutes, and it will create a gravy for you. And that is a really fun way of eating it if you're going to eat it with your chapati. But if you're having a barbecue and putting this as a second dish, or if you're having a buffet and you just want to kind of, leave it, this is another way of eating the dry papeta jhinga. But for everyday food, I think people may prefer making a little gravy. It's absolutely up to yourself. Now, this is done. So I'm going to turn it on a low. I don't need to burn it, but I also wanted to show you how soft the potato is. So we have here nice caramelization of the potato, and this should go in and out very easily. So you can see that it's pretty much done. And if you like it a little more, we have time because the prawns are cooking, and you can add a little more water and allow it to steam more. Okay, so now the prawns have enough . And I'm going to put all the onion in. So this also absorbs, remember, and so do the potatoes. So just put the potatoes into the dish and mix it properly. Mix it properly, cover it, and allow it to cook for about 3 to 5 minutes. Now, it should become like one dish. It can take a little longer sometimes. Just cover it. Turn it on a medium dish.
What cookware are you using? Is it a non-stick or is it...
Yes, I have used a non-stick. It's This one is called ProScan or Scan Pro. 1 second. No, sorry, both of them are Crusette.
Crusette, okay.
Crusette, yeah. But there is another company called from Denmark called ProScan or Scan Pro, I'm not sure. And that company is also really up and coming and it's good quality. Now, I'm not a huge fan of non-stick. I prefer stainless steel in most cases. But certain things, especially when you're frying and if you don't want it to stick, the non-stick is better. So actually, in honest truth, the potatoes are better in the non-stick and the prawns would be better in the stainless steel.
Thank you.
That's the combination that would have worked for me better than non-stick. I'm not a great advocate of non-stick, but certain things I understand and I prefer. Like crepes, I would only make in a non-stick. Fried egg, I would only make in.
Yes, I think it's very important. The kind of food you're making, you should match the cooking utensil to that.
If you can, definitely. So I have here some lemon, which I'll squeeze on once I feel that it's all done. Since we are short on time, I'm going to keep this on high so that it happens quicker and we can show people the finished product. Now, again, you can add fresh coriander, finely chopped coriander. A lot of people like that. So this is the time that you would add it.
Somebody, Khurshid Wazifdar, is feeling very hungry watching you cook.
I wish I could pass it on, but one day perhaps we'll have that technology also, hard as it is to imagine.
And Yasmin Medora says, very useful pointers, thanks. And she says, hats off to you for taking time for everything you do for our community.
It is my pleasure. And honestly, without you guys, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't even have achieved anything. So thank you all. Now, all of the gravy is almost done. So it's up to you whether you want to continue cooking. If you are eating it right now, you continue cooking. If you are not eating it right now, you stop at this point and all you have to do is reheat it for 5 to 7 minutes. The other thing with fish and prawns is you do not leave it to cool with a cover. It continues to cook. So if I'm absolutely sure that everything is ready, open it up, put it on a cool surface so that you can cool it down. Right now, I'm just allowing the oil to separate. In Parsi food, you know that it's done when anything releases a little drop of oil on the side. Tel par aave. Even if it's 1 teaspoon, it will come out on the side. You don't need a gallon of oil to see that little bit of oil on the side. And once that oil has been released, you have to satisfy yourself that it is done. So if you watch through the camera, the drops of oil are starting to show on the side. In the meantime, I'll give it a finishing touch with a little bit of lemon. And that's it. So now the yellow potatoes will start to look a little brown. And that is because of the fried onions. And this is what I wanted to show you, the difference between keeping the shell on and not. This is the same prawn, same packet, same everything. Look at the difference. The size, the shape, the texture, every single thing will be different. And if you are having guests over, for some reason, this will always look better than that. But we can't have it both ways. You either have guests who don't mind removing the shells, or then, you know, whatever works for you guys is perfect. Nothing is right or wrong. So you do whatever you want to do and it suits your family. So now it's ready. I'm just going to turn this off, and I would just take the pan and put it on the granite. So it starts to stop cooking immediately. I don't want it overcooked. It's quite cooked. It's ready to eat. Okay. So that's your Papeta Jhinga. If there are any questions, please ask.
Niloufer, Khurshid wants to know the quantity of fried onions you used.
Okay, so because I fry my onions and keep them in a bag in the freezer, I can tell you that I put about half a cupful, and they are by hand. I crush them. I'll show it to you. When you're living in a country where you have to do everything from A to Z, you learn how to prepare from the beginning. Because to fry these onions, and if I'm doing one onion, the smell in the house, especially in winter, the amount of dishes I have to wash, everything counts. So if I do this one day and it stays for 6 months, it's worth it for me. And it really stays beautifully. There's no smell in it, nothing. I just remove it, crush it with my hands, and I use it.
Thanks, Niloufer. Any more questions? Okay, that seemed very straightforward, Niloufer. I can't wait to try it myself. Certainly will be, and I will message you as soon as we have indulged in. I don't know if mine will turn out as well as yours, but I'll certainly let you know. Thank you very much for sharing that, and we'll see lots more of you. No, we will see more of you because you're coming back for another cooking session.
Definitely.
So thank you again. And if Anahita is ready, we can move on to her session.
So Zarine, I'm just going to pull this out so that I can be online with, you know, instead of having the two of them.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So then the share screen will go away.
You have one more. Somebody's written, thank you, very useful tips on the prawns and potato cooking.
Thank you for coming.
Many, many thanks, Niloufer.
Most welcome. Most welcome.
Thank you. Yazdi, can we spotlight Anahita, please?
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can
you see me?
Yes.
Okay. So just to give you a little bit of background about the direction of the kitchen. So my stove is actually placed against the wall. I will be showing you all the ingredients in front of the camera and then mixing it up because I don't have anyone else to help me with another camera. And I'm going to show you a very quick and easy recipe. So just to give you an introduction, I am Anahita Dhondy. I'm a chef. I'm in Delhi, New Delhi. A lot of there is a small community of Parsis in Delhi, not very large, but a small community, and we've managed to keep alive our recipes through our grandparents and our mothers. We don't obviously have too many Parsi restaurants, but I started working at Soda Bottle Loknawala when I was 23, and I was able to expand it from 1 restaurant to 9 restaurants all over the country. And over the years, I realized that as Parsi food, we don't indulge in too much vegetarian food. We love our non-veg and we love our meats and we love our prawns and fish. And I undoubtedly, I mean, I also love it, but I also feel it's very important to include more vegetarian food into your diet. That's why I'm going to quickly show you a recipe which is vegetarian, very high in protein and made with leftover ingredients. So I'm teaching you a kebab, which is actually made out of dal. Now at home, when we make chana no dal or we make mora dal chawal or we even make dhansak dal, sometimes we have a little bit of dal left over. So usually what we do is we take that dal and the next day we'll heat it up and we'll have it again. Or, you know, we'll just probably be like, let's just have that for another meal. We won't waste it because it's precious and it's food. But this is one way of reusing your dal. So what I've done is I'll show you the dal. So just gonna turn my camera a little bit lower so you can see. And if you have any questions, please do ask me the questions in the chat box, and Zarine can maybe read them out as we go, if that's okay. Okay, so this is a regular dal. If you can see inside the kadhai, this is just a normal, the regular texture of the dal, right? And what I have done is with the leftover dal, just to show you, I have dried it out in a pan. So I actually just put the dal and I don't add anything else to it. And I just dry it down. I remove all the excess water. And this is actually pure dal. Now I only didn't have chana dal. I had a mixture of dal. So there's moong, there's chana, there's arhar or tuar dal. It's all there. And I'm just going to add it into a bowl. And this recipe will literally take you 5 minutes. It's a lifesaver. And it's very easy to get your family to eat, you know, vegetarian kebabs. I'm adding some chopped onions.
So Anahita, when you said dry, all you did was just put it on the stove till the water evaporated, right?
Yeah, you just keep cooking it and it becomes so thick that it becomes like a paste. So you don't need to add any corn flour. You don't need to add any binding agent, anything to it. I'm adding some fresh coriander, some onion, some chopped ginger. I love the flavor of chopped ginger. So I don't put lasan in this. I just put ginger and some chopped green chilies. So these are the only ingredients that I'm adding. Obviously, if you want to make it healthier, you can add some chopped finely grated carrots. You can add some boiled peas. You can add any vegetables that you like. So this is how the mixture looks right now. Just gonna come closer. And into this, I'm adding some masalas. Now you can add dhana jeeru or garam masala. Obviously, in all our homes, we have dhana jeeru. So I'm adding some dhana jeeru. I'm adding some roasted jeera powder because I feel like that adds a little more flavor, even though the dhana jeeru has it. I'm adding a little bit of salt. Now the salt is slightly different. I have it at home, so I'm using it up, but use regular salt. This is just some red chili salt, which I got from the hills. And a little bit of chaat masala. Now the chaat masala really works well with the kebab. So a little bit of chaat masala. And I'll mix this up and then I'll see if I need to add any more salt. So I'm just going to mix it up. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, we can see you clearly.
Okay.
We can see it clearly.
I'm just trying to bend my laptop as much as I can, but I don't want it to fall on my slab. I'll just do it here. So I'm just mixing this up. Now, this is a great idea with any leftover dal the next day, and especially if you're having people over. It's a very quick and easy starter. It's full of protein. It's great for kids. Obviously, you can reduce the green chili there. It's great for elderly people because it's very soft to eat. if the dal completely mashes. So it's a great addition to your menu, especially when we always as Parsis struggle to, you know, add vegetarian dishes to our menus. We very quickly have ideas for, you know, all our non-veg food. We know what we have to cook. We know it really well. But I think we, even at Soda Bottle Opnawala, for the longest time, we struggled a lot with the vegetarian food because there is a large audience who, you know, orders vegetarian as well. And over the last 1 year since we've started the weekend kitchen from home, mom and me, we've seen that there are times that almost 50% of the orders are vegetarian. So I will give you a few examples of that after we make the kebabs. So while I'm mixing this up, you can put any questions and I can answer them.
One question, Anahita.
Sure.
If I add chopped carrots, do I need to boil them first?
So carrots are something that you can have kacha or you can cook it. Now the cooking time is hardly anything. So if you want, you can blanch them. If you're blanching peas, you can even blanch the chopped carrots.
Zarine, good with that? Okay, Khurshid wants to know, can we add grated cheese?
You can add grated cheese. The only thing with grated cheese is that you'll have to stuff it in, because what happens is it will, you know, the kebab or if you're making it like a tikki or you're making it like a kebab, then it might break because the cheese might ooze out. So you just have to be a little careful with that. So all I've done is in a pan, I've added some ghee. Now ghee with the kebabs is a great combination. I'm not deep frying it. I'm just shallow frying it. I've just put 1 tablespoon, 1.5 tablespoons of ghee. And I'll show you the 2 different shapes. Now, if you want to make this for like kebabs, like how we make our mutton and chicken kebabs, you can make them round and you can deep fry them. I prefer having them as a snack. So I usually make them as a tikki, like a small little kebab.
Oshang Velati is very happy because he's found a new veg starter option now.
I'm so glad. And there's another one on my Instagram page, which is made with chana, black chana, which comes out. Nobody can even guess that it's vegetarian. It tastes like it's a keema, a chicken keema or a mutton keema kebab. And one tip I have, make it a little spicy, especially if you're doing it for caterings. Make it a little spicy. It really comes out excellent. And the best accompaniment with this would be either a green chutney mixed with dahi or a mango chutney or a relish. You can use that. So now you can see, I just want to show you the texture. It's so easy. It's not sticky. It's not fussy like a papeta no cutlets or a pates or anything like that. It's very easy to roll. Now you can either flatten it. So I'm going to put one, or I'm going to show you, if you want to confuse your audience, especially if you're making dhansa, what we do is we make them like round kebabs. Okay. So I'm just going to make them, I'll make a couple of them. I wish you could taste them because you wouldn't be able to guess it's made with leftover dal.
There are couriers, you know, from Delhi to Bombay, na?
Yeah, there are. Absolutely. I just want to add one more thing. If you want to make it slightly heavy, and if you're deep frying, like if you're doing this from home as a catering experiment, and you are already deep frying, you know, in oil, then you can even coat this with a mixture of a cornflour slurry and some breadcrumbs. But trust me, they are so good, especially for people who are being healthy. They are really nice and very tasty. Okay, so I've made a couple of them, which will be like my snack before I eat dinner. I'll just wash my hands. So just with the help of a spatula, I'm just going to turn them and I'll show you the color that you get. So it looks like a mutton or a chicken kebab. So the reason I chose this recipe is there are a couple of reasons. One is it's using leftover ingredients which are commonly found in our kitchen. The second thing is that we usually struggle with vegetarian starters and vegetarian ingredients. And the third thing is that we never think of an ingredient like a common ingredient like dal to be used in such a way. So a couple of
Absolutely. I don't think I would have thought of drying up the dal and using it in another way.
And if you do it with dhan saag dal, there's so much flavor because there are already vegetables.
So would you add the same kind of masalas if you were using a dhan saag dal, considering that it already has so much masala in it?
So I would always say that taste your dal depending on how your dal is. Like my dal was plain and it had only a simple tarka in it. So I wanted to, when you're having kebabs, you needed to have a little bit more punch.
Right.
So I added a little bit of garam. You can add garam masala, like I said, or dhana jeeru, but the chaat masala really works because it gives you this kebab feel. I don't know how to explain that, but it does. Like, you know, like you're eating kebabs outside.
Right.
So just showing you some colors because it's ready. Literally takes 2 minutes because you don't have to cook it too much. Can you guys see?
Yeah.
So the color is brown and there's no coating on it. So if you see these kebabs, you probably won't be able to guess. And even when you eat them, they're absolutely delicious. I'll just place them up. And while we are speaking, I want to talk to you a little bit about menu planning. So when you're planning your menu, what is it? What is the first thing that would come to your head if you're creating a menu from home where you're serving Parsi bhunu? One of the first things that will come to your mind is that ingredients that are easily available to you. What am I best at? In terms of cooking, or what is my specialty? And then you'll build your menu around it. So even when we started the kitchen from home, because I have experience in the restaurant industry, I had a very clear idea about portion sizing, which I think is very important. And as home entrepreneurs, we kind of forget about that. So this is ready. I'll share a final picture with you later, Zarine.
Yes, sure.
So that's how it looks. I've just served it with some nice mango relish and some coriander. You can serve it with some lemon, or you can serve it with anything else that you like.
So I have 2 questions, if you don't mind, Anahita.
Absolutely, no problem.
Maruk asks, can we roll these kebabs in beaten eggs like we do for our Parsi kebabs?
Yes, and they would be like frilly cutlets.
Yeah, great. And Roshan Rivetna wants to know, and she says, thanks for a great program and interesting tips. And she says, you said something about serving the green chutney mixed with dai. How do you make that? Could you just quickly go through that?
Green chutney is, so there are different types of green chutney. What we use in the restaurant is a green chutney made with coriander, mint. We usually add 1 tomato, 1 onion, green chilies. It adds more body. So the onion and the tomato add more body, and we blend everything up. Again, the same recipe of the chutney is on my Instagram page with the exact quantities. And what I do is you just take 2 tablespoons of the mint chutney and add 1 tablespoon of dahi, mix it up, and you have to put a little sprinkling of chaat masala. And if you want to make it more khatta, you can add a little bit of lemon. But I usually just put the yogurt and I add a little bit of chaat masala and I whisk it up, and it becomes like this nice dahi green chutney, which you can serve with all your kebabs, which you can, give with everything, because what it does is it's giving you that cool when you take the kebab and you dip it into
Right.
that. If you've got a masaledar, nice, heavy, rich kebab, when you dip it into that, that cuts through all of that. So it really works well. And that's why I've also served it with a sweet and sour mango relish or a mango chutney, because that also works really well, because it's two different flavors, but they work well together. So that's about the flavoring or the pairing. And yes, you can take these kebabs, they're so easy. You can just dip them into egg and make them like frilly ones. I didn't put it into egg because I wanted to keep them totally vegetarian, but the options are endless, so you guys can try it out. One more quick thing, the same thing mixture, you can also make it into a bigger burger patty. And
That's a good idea.
That you can do for vegetarians. You can do that with some sliced beetroot. And you can put some lettuce, onions, tomatoes, and some pickles. I would totally put like lagannu achar inside my burger and then have it. It'll be quite a dynamite burger with some saria on the side. But the thing is, what I'm trying to give you guys in terms of ideas is that with vegetarian food also the options are endless. You just have to put in that much more time for planning your vegetarian menus, which I think, because we are Parsis and we love our non-vegetarian so much, that we don't end up doing. So lots of vegetarian food ideas you'll find on my page. I know someone just messaged.
Yeah, so can I just type it in? Anahita Dhondy Bhandari.
Yeah, just type it in. So even the burger patty does not need to be deep fried. You can coat it in eggs and breadcrumb, or you can coat it, if you want to keep it totally vegetarian, corn flour slurry is what you need as anytime you're making anything vegetarian kebab. So just corn flour with a little bit of water, equal amount. So if you're putting 2 tablespoons of corn flour, 2 tablespoons of water, mix it up, and you can coat it with that, and then coat it with your breadcrumbs, and you'll get the same kind of texture for your any kebabs, any burger patties, anything. So I'm going to quickly go back to menu planning because I don't want to take too much of your time. Are we running late? No, we're not.
No, but I think it's interesting because I know there are a lot of ladies here who started doing this home business. And, so a lot of them did it because somehow the pandemic was the perfect, if you can call the pandemic, anything about the pandemic perfect, but the perfect environment to get into this business.
Correct. So honestly, there's so much that you can do from home. Like I said, whatever your speciality is, you can just build around it because that's what you're good at making. But at the same time, it's also important to take out some time to do some research and development. So what we do is, if we have the kitchen running on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then maybe Monday or Tuesday, you take out that time when you take a day off. You take out that time to write down maybe 5 or 10 recipes that you want to try out. Some work, some don't. And, honestly, even in recipe books, some of them are not, exact, and you have to work around it. So they never come out right in the first time. But I want to also give you an idea. We did this thing with jardalu chicken. Now, whenever we do jardalu chicken, people always ask us, what is the vegetarian alternative for that? And then you're really thinking, and especially with kidgos also. So with kidgos, the best idea to do is something like an Ariel Dudma cauliflower, because it's kind of the same texture, the kind of the same flavor. And what we do is the same masala. You can use it for kidgos. Then if you're doing a jardalu chicken, you can do a jardalu paneer, which works really well with the texture, because again, Indians, North Indians, I don't know, wherever, at least in Central and North India, people love paneer. And they're happy to pay for it also because it's as expensive as chicken. And if you're getting good quality paneer. So I know Bangalore, we had a lot of issues with paneer supply, but in Delhi, we fortunately have a very good quality paneer. So, and that's one of the options. The other thing is that obviously papeta is the first thing that comes to our head as Parsis, because that's something that we use in everything. But try thinking of any local vegetables. I do an excellent lauki kebab, same way with grated lauki, which is in season, which is so cheap for your food cost. So you can totally make that because you can, in 20 or 40 rupees, you get a full lauki. And you can just grate it, put some salt and leave it for 5 minutes and then squeeze out all the water. And into that, you add again all your masalas like sambar, dhana, jiru, a little bit of adu lasan if you want to, salt, pepper, and some garam masala and jeera powder. And then what you can do is you can make these little kebabs and you can fry them. Nobody gets to know that it's made out of lauki, honestly. So just use all the seasonal ingredients that you have around you. And last thing I want to just tell you in menu planning is, if you're thinking of making a full menu for your home venture, then just see what are the things that you would like to have. So sometimes if you're doing something special, add like a achar or papad or a dessert or a small portion of ravo or something. But if you're doing something which is standardized, then make sure that your portion size is the same. So 200 grams of dal is enough for one person. So when we send food, you have to know how many grams and you need to keep it standardized every time. Otherwise, I might have it and I'll get 200 grams of dal. Someone else will get 150. Someone else will get 300. So if you're not doing grams, which I want you to invest in a weighing scale on Amazon, you can get it for 900 rupees if you're a food business from home. But if you're not doing that, at least have a spoon or a ladle, which like 5 ladles of this or 4 ladles of this, or if you're doing kebabs, then you have a count. Everyone should get the same. So if you're doing 2 or 3 kebabs per person, then you're doing 6 kebabs or you're doing 4 kebabs. So you should have that written down pre-making and pre-packaging, because it will make your life a lot simpler. And like you would want to eat, so you should have a starter, you should have a main course and optional dessert, because some people have mittu, some people don't. So you can keep that optional. So that's the only thing that I wanted to kind of share here. If you have any other questions, please feel free to ask, or you can connect with me always on Instagram.
Anahita, I think a big question is how much meat is correct for a person. So when I'm talking meat, there are 3. We're looking at fish, we look at chicken, we look at mutton. So yeah, I know, we always worked with, if you're doing bone, then you give one bone, one boneless, so that there is all 3 depends. So in your opinion, I think that's something a lot of people struggle with. How many botas should I send in my dhansak nidar?
So honestly, for Parsis, it's never enough. You can send as many botas as you want. So what we usually do is we understand first what is the number of pieces that we get in 1 kilo. So firstly, you need to know that. So for example, the mutton right now that we get in Delhi is expensive. It's 900 rupees a kilo. And in that, we would get about 20 pieces if there are about, if you're taking them about at 30 to 40 grams, because there'll also be a little bit of wastage when the mutton is being cut. And with Parsis, what we like is we like a mixture of bones and boneless, because if there are no bones, then it's tasteless. And if you have only boneless, it's very expensive for you. So I would totally suggest what we do is we give 3 pieces with bone and we give 3 pieces boneless for 2 people. So you get about 3 pieces, which are like good, decent pieces of meat, and 3 pieces which are boneless. So, and enough dal with that. In total, because I usually do everything in grams, in total, it's about 600 grams with the meat included, cooked meat. So there's also another thing with yield. Cooked is different and after cooking is different. Sometimes the
the weight is different.
Yeah, so after cooking, like for example, rice, after cooking, it increases. So it could be double or triple. And if it's, for example, dal, it'll again increase double or triple. And if it's meat, then it'll almost be the same if you have gravy, or it will shrink and the weight will go down if you are cooking it without any gravy. Now, the gravy really supports you. So if you can do more gravy dishes, it will be it will be beneficial for you. And whenever you're doing your costing, you have to take account of the cost of ingredients, the cost of your bijli, your electricity, even though you're doing it from home. Still take a little bit of amount for your gas, for your electricity, for your packaging. We always forget that packaging is expensive. So make sure that you have a box and you say that every time, this box which I make is going to cost me 50 rupees. So you know your packaging cost is 50 rupees. You know your ingredient cost is, for example, 400 rupees. And over and above is 100 rupees for everything else, miscellaneous. So you're somewhere around 550 to 600 rupees is, imagine your cost. And then your time and your effort. So at least you should be selling that at 30% more. So that's the basic idea when you're doing costing, because you have to take into account your time, your skills. You're washing your bartans, you're getting your ingredients. Nobody else is doing it. You don't have a purchase department. You don't have someone washing your dishes for you. You're doing everything yourself. So take in account to that. Do small menus, but make sure that you're making a little bit of money on that.
Thank you. Are there any more questions for Anahita? Thank you so much. That means
I explained everything. I explained everything very well.
Different. And but we're not letting go of you so easily, because you're certainly coming back on one of our later shows.
Sure, definitely. I'm very happy
of Anahita.
Be able to support anytime, anything. Please let me know. And most importantly, I hope everyone starts thinking about vegetarian Parsi food also in a different way.
Okay, now is a question. How many fish pieces in curry?
Depends on how many people are you giving it to. So if you're giving it to one person, if you're doing boneless pieces, if you're doing nice pieces, which are about 60 grams, 2 pieces of fish should be more than enough. If you're doing smaller than that, which is 40 grams, then you do about 3 pieces of fish for one person.
I think first what we need to understand, the way that we do it, Anahita, in a restaurant, is we always do it by weight. Yes. And so, everybody gets the same portion of food. So even if you're doing like ribs, it's not about 4 pieces or 3 pieces. The weight has to be the same. And
so and also, like I said, if you take a bowl, now, for example, if I take a bowl like the one that I was mixing up, I don't have it right now. I think I put it for a wash. This bowl. So I know that I have to give this bowl full of pulao in every portion.
Correct.
Or if I know that this is my standard bowl for my chutney, you get the boxes. So your chutney is all standardized. And if you have a ladle for any of your dals, then you just portion it. I'm not saying, if you can't do grams and all, it might be difficult if you're doing it alone. But you can easily have your fixed utensils, which you fill it up and fill it up and you do, it's very easy to do that.
Having any standard measure to do your portioning is the best way to work. Sorry, there are 2 more questions.
Yes.
For chicken, would it be 3 pieces for one portion? Again, it depends what you're
It depends on the size. Now, for example, if you're giving 1 drumstick and you're giving 1 thigh, that might be too much. So you might have to cut the thigh into half and give 1 drumstick and 1 half thigh, depending on what your size of now, for example, if the thigh is only so small, if you cut that into half, there's no point. But if you've got a massive piece of thigh, you cut it into half, it will be around 35 to 45 grams, depending on the size of the chicken leg. And if you're doing breast, then you can give 1 entire breast. If it's a large enough piece of breast, you can do that. But 3 pieces for one portion is fine.
If lamb is 900 rupees a kg, how much would you charge considering you're cooking from home? Mabri, difficult. What lamb? Because there is other ingredients, right?
So lamb is 900 rupees a kilo. From that 900 rupees of lamb, I am also adding dal into it. I'm also adding vegetables into it. So my entire portion, actually the dal and the vegetables help bring me down the portion cost. Because if I purely give lamb, then it's very expensive. Then basically 900 rupees is just the portion in which I'll only get to serve 3 people. So you divide 900 by 3, which will give you 300 rupees will only be your meat. And over and above that, you'll put dal, you'll put vegetables, you'll give your side salad like a kachumbar, you'll give rice, and that entire thing will cost you a lot. So what I do is in 1 kg, I will be able to get at least 4 to 5 portions of dhan sak, including the dal and the pieces of meat, which brings my cost to 150 rupees per portion. And then I can charge, say, 400 rupees or 500 rupees, depending on what side dishes I'm giving. Now, if you're smart, you will give side dishes and you will charge a little bit more, but you will make a little bit more margin.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to sit down and work out your menu and understand what is expensive. Now, whatever is expensive, you can't change the price of that. So fish, meat, if you're doing pork, all of them are expensive. So if you add some elements to it, which is vegetarian, or you think about, adding something as a side dish, like for example, if you do a Russian potato salad, the only expensive ingredient in that is the mayonnaise. And if you make the mayonnaise at home, it's cheaper. Or if you buy the packets also these days, it's 150 rupees for such a large packet. So if you add that, people will think it's a lot, and the person also feels full, and you can charge a little bit more on that. So I hope that was helpful.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay, Mavreen has written lovely tips.
Okay, so that means I did well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anahita. I had no doubt about you.
Being here with such great cooks and chefs and all the home chefs. So I hope I was able to help out and pass some ideas and knowledge.
You were, certainly.
Thank you
very much. So folks, that brings us to the end of today's session. Our next session was planned for August 16th, but it's Parsi New Year, so I'm going to cancel that session. The topics that were planned for that session, I will include in another session later in the year. So we're not missing out on anything. So we will now meet on the 30th of August for the session on food photography, which I think is extremely, extremely important to anybody who is doing food business from home. Today's social media calls for a lot of good photographs, and I'm doing this with how you can take good photographs from your mobile, so you don't have to buy an expensive camera. So I'm hoping to get lots of you back. And now it's time to say goodnight here in India and let the rest of the world carry on with their day. So everyone, stay safe, stay happy. Bye.